Hi Stampers, welcome. This is Lisa with Queen Bee Creations. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and I go live right here on YouTube and in my Facebook group on Mondays and Thursdays at 2:30 p.m. Mountain Time. And I'm usually showing you some sort of a fun fold card. And we normally do a prize patrol where I give those things away. But today I'm actually pre-recording because I am, as you watch this, in New Mexico visiting my adult daughter in her new home that she bought. And I wanted to do something a little different because it's kind of hard to mail boxes. So since we're not doing a prize patrol, that's what I'm doing today is I'm making a box that I think you're going to love. If you've watched my videos for long, you've seen me often do the Ho 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 box with the Ferrero Rocher. Well, this time we're doing it for Mother's Day. So I can't wait to show you how I've modified the other box to do this one. And because I did the mom in the middle, I took my leftover pieces and made this card. So let's go ahead and get started. So here we are down on my work surface. Again, this is the box we're making. I'm going to bring in my pieces of cardstock here. For the box itself, I have a piece of cardstock that is 5 inches by 6 3/4 that's scored 1 1/4 inches from all 4 sides. Then I have the second piece, which is going to be the top of the box. This is 4 1/8 by 5 7/8. Now it's got the 8s in there because of the fact that we want the top to be a little bigger than the bottom. So that's some of why that has to do. And I'm scoring this 3/4 of an inch from the 4 sides. This is going to be the insert that goes inside of the box. So this piece here is 5 1/8 by 3 3/8. Again, I'm sorry about the 8s. I know you guys don't like those, but be sure to head on over to my tutorial shop and download the adapter that goes on to our trimmer that will show you the 1/8 of an inch if you need that, because that is a free download that you can go grab. I have some extra scrap pieces here. Oh, this is for the top of the box. So this piece here is 2 1/4 by 3 7/8. It's going to go under the flower. And then to create the flower, I needed some granny apple green for our leaves. And then I've got some with adhesive sheet on the back so I can adhere the veins to the leaves without having to worry too much about glue going everywhere. And then I have 2 pieces for the zinnia that we're going to be die cutting. Some with adhesive sheet for the center of the zinnia. And then this is for the to create the and place we're going to be able to in our card. So let's go ahead and get started with some die cutting. So I'm going to bring in our mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I love this one for on camera because it's smaller. It's nice and portable. It fits well in the camera screen without my having to do a lot of zooming in and zooming out. It's also great for travel and for taking to crops and things like that. It's 3 inches wide and it does fit a lot of our dies. I know people sometimes panic. You do need the larger one to do dry embossing, but as you're going through our catalog, you will notice that not only the dry embossing, there we go, with the little mini symbol, and then our dies. Now the dies will have the same like mini symbol on there, saying that they will fit into our mini machine. And some of them, even though they don't have the little mini symbol, that doesn't mean that all of them won't fit through there. So you can see that this set right here does not have the mini icon, but the only one that doesn't fit through it is this large one here. All these other dies do. So it is very useful. And like I said, great for my using on screen. So I'm going to die cut our Zinnia flower. So that's going to be this Simply Zinnia's dies, which is brand new. This was just released. Ooh, I can't get it in the camera with the thing in the way. This was just released March 5th. So just a couple days ago, and it coordinates with an entire suite. So there is the Simply Zinnia stamp set, which is a red rubber stamp set. And then there's also some sequins and designer series paper and like a whole suite. So you will love that. I'm going to go ahead and grab the 2 flower dies out of this. We're going to layer one on top of the other. So I'm going to put those on plate 1 and plate 2. And then I've got a second plate 2 I'm going to put over the top. Remember, everything I use is Stampin' Up! Related and can be purchased in my online store. When you make that purchase, be sure to use my hostess code for the month, which can be found at the top of my website or on any of my blog posts and my emails. I try to spread that everywhere. Because when you use that, I not only send you a PDF tutorial for a set of 6 tutorials, but you also get a little packet that you will be able to use during one of my lives. Everybody who places an order of $40 or more in 1 month will get a packet to make a card for one of my lives in the following month. So it's something you can do repeatedly and get one every month if you really wanted to. But I like to reward my customers, and that's how I can do it. So let's pull in our sticky one. And then I'm going to take the center of our flower, which is this one here. And again, this has adhesive sheet on the back, so it's going to be nice and easy to use. Then we have the leaves. Now, the solid leaves are going to be these 2 pieces here. And then these pieces, these little skinny things, that's what these are, is the veins that are going to go inside each of those flowers. This would be the stem to the flower. This can be an additional little ring of, if you look at zinnias, they have a little ring of some like stardust kind of pieces that go around. So you can add that if you wish. This is going to cut little tiny flowers out of it. You can use this as a border. If you were to repeat this over and over again, you could have a little border of flower cutouts at the bottom. Here are some additional little flower things, maybe for a flower coming from the side, and then some little leaves. And of course, we've got the 2 that are going to die cut out the stamps. And this one, of course, would also cut out one of the stamps. Remember, when you're looking at our catalog, 99% of everything in there is shown in actual size. So when you are looking in the catalog, it will show actual size. If you're looking online, like these are online exclusives, you're going to need to just look at the measurements. And it will show you that if you expand the description. It's not like really obvious right away. You hit a kind of plus button and it will open that up and give you that information. I think it says more details. Just like at the end, if you have any kind of hostess coupon codes or anything like that, sometimes they have to have a little plus button that you open up so you can enter that information in. Grab. Making sure that they did indeed cut all the way through. I always do that before I remove the dies from the paper in case I need to run it through a second time, but it did good. And then we just need our mom for the inside. So I'm going to be using different dies for that. I have here our Stylish Shapes dies. So I'm going to be using 2 of the circles from this. I kind of took the candy and I kind of set it inside the dies to see which one it was going to fit in the best. So this, the second one up, and then I'm using the next size up after that so that I can nest them one inside of each other, and that's what's going to give us our O for the middle of that. And then I have the alphabet a la mode dies here, and these are stored on the magnetic sheets from Stampin' Storage. They sell these wonderful, strong magnetic sheets that will hold the dies, and then they have these pockets that they go into so that you can store them easily. I love them. I have quite a few, and I even need to order more. But I do have an affiliate link for that. So if you are interested, let me know and I can point you that direction. It is on my website towards the bottom. Oh, you know what I want to do? I want to put some adhesive sheet on the back of this. Because those M's are going to stick a whole lot easier if it has some adhesive sheet. So that's what this is here. They come in 6 by 12 inch pieces, and there's 12 in a pack. I normally will cut them down to size. So in looking at this, I know that I want to come about here and cut that off. And I just marked it with my fingernail. You can also use a pencil. You could measure and do measurements, you know, do what works for you. But then it's going to have this little thing you're going to crack open at the seam here, and then you're going to peel back the backing, and it's going to expose that sticky. And then you're going to put it on the back of your cardstock. And then we're ready to die cut. But you have to do that beforehand in order to make that work. If you forgot, you can go in and add some liquid glue to the back using a sponge dauber. You can set it on your silicone mat and then just daub onto it, because the glue is not going to stick to that silicone mat, and it's going to get all over the back of your M where you want it, and it's not going to ooze out when you go to adhere it to your project. There we go. That grabbed a lot better. Okay, so here I have one M and I have our O. It shifted just a little bit. I'm not real wild about that. So we may not be able to use this one for our card. But that's okay. I just happened to cut it straight the first time and thought it was kind of a waste of material to not use that negative one to make our card. Okay. My plates are starting to get a little bit warped, and so it may be time to start replacing them. Normally when I do that, I will replace the top one and then take the flattest of the two that I have and make that my bottom one. If I keep the new one on top and always do my cutting into that same one for the bottom, they tend to wear a little better. You also want to try to flip them occasionally so that it gets even wear on both front and back, because that's one of the reasons that they warp. There we go. This thing's giving me fits because it wants me to tell you these tips and tricks for working with it, right? There's a reason behind this. Okay, so I think we're set. I'm using the Take Your Pick tool and the pointy end on that to poke them out. These little holes in the dies are what we call ejection holes, and they're meant to help you get the cardstock out of the die. So we have M. Oops. And then we have O. And then we have our M. There are the veins to our leaves. The leaf base. The flower for our zinnia. I have 2 of those. And then I have the piece for the center. So those are all our die cuts. Now we can start making our box. So I'm going to bring back these pieces that I talked about earlier for making our box. They are all scored. We're going to go ahead and burnish them with a bone folder. We're taking the valley and turning that into a mountain. It's not super important with cardstock. It is more so important to do that with designer series paper, but we're going to go with it. I'm going to make sure these corners are nice and crisp. On all 3 pieces. And after I've done that, I'm going to come in and I'm going to remove our score line. And what I mean by that is I'm going to lay my little paper snip blades on either side of that score line, and I'm just removing that. So that's going to be, when I fold this over, it's going to make sure that it doesn't interfere down there. So it should sit nice and flush. And I'm going to do this on all 3 of them. I've already done up the diagrams so that I can make this a tutorial. Do you think I should make it a single tutorial, or I should have a variety of different sizes of the box saying different things like the ho ho ho, love, things all just for tutorial? Or should I make a book of just all 3D patterns? What do you think? I am in the process of making a book of all of my fun folds where we have adjusted the pattern, and I say we because I have a friend helping me, have adjusted the pattern so that it says cardstock 1, cardstock 2, and then it will give you pictures of examples where I've actually used some Stampin' Up! Product, but you can easily use the pattern to adapt it to whatever bundle or stamp set or materials you're working with. So it's just basically the fold. And of course, it's got the diagrams and the photos and all those things that go with it. All the measurements. But that's going to be a book of 50. And the funny thing is, when we were trying to find 50, we actually probably found like 100. So we're calling this volume 1 because there could be a second one. I have enough patterns for that for sure. But what do you think? Do you like individual tutorials in a bundle by stamp set, Tutorials in a bundle by type of project or the books. What would be your pick? Oh, I am going to need to do one more thing. We're going to need to die cut the O out of the middle of this. So what I want to do is I want to find the center. The easiest way to find the center of something is to make an X. So I'm going to quickly grab a ruler. And I'm just making part of an X in the center, and then I'm going this way, then making the other X. And so now I know I want my O to cut out that right there. So one more time, I'm going to bring in my die cutting plates and those circles from the Stylish Shapes dies. Oh, and I only need the little one because I'm going to stick our Berry Burst O around it. And then this is what the candy is going to poke out of from below. So we only need the smaller one. Trying to make that X be in the middle of our O. Having a newer plate on top also helps with not getting all those little pieces, because there's pieces of cardstock embedded in these plates. So occasionally I'll take them to the sink and I'll brush them with a fingernail brush just to get that out of there with some soapy water, maybe Dawn just dish soap and some warm water, and clean those off. I do the same with my blocks. Probably once a week, I'll take all of my blocks upstairs and wash them in the sink with some sudsy Dawn dish soap. That was especially important when we had the cling-mounted stamps. So if you still have any of those in your repertoire of stamps at home, you want to make sure that the back of those rubber stamps and the block are both really clean, because they the clear mount stamps were called that because they were a clear block that it mounted on. That was before we got the photopolymer, which is the truly clear. But they worked as kind of a static cling. So the back of the stamp and the block both needed to be really clean in order for them to get a good stick. So, as I said, we're going to take that ring from our O, and I'm going to place that right over the top of this. Ooh. It's best to look straight down from the top, because that's how you're going to get your best alignment. There we go. That's better. And then because that's mounted in the middle, we're going to have equal space on the sides to be able to stick our M. Makes it nice and easy when the word is the same size, both forwards and backwards. You could do this as a congratulations and say, wow. As I said, around Valentine's Day, I did one that said love. With the Christmas ho, ho, ho. Most any word with an O in it, we can turn into one of these boxes. I love this take your pick tool. What did we do before we had this thing? I use it so often. I can't imagine how to work without it anymore. I'll probably be selling this at a craft fair or something because I haven't had my mom for over 20 years now. So those of you who still have a mom, be appreciative. Because we never know what we don't have until we don't have it. Okay, so these are going to layer on top of each other. And I want to offset the petals. That's going to make it look more full. And we can decide if we want which one we want on top. I tend to like this one better on top. And I have not found that there's a certain way that works better than others as far as layering them. I just kind of figure out what offsets the best. And then I usually stick them together with a glue dot. And you want to make sure you leave the glue dot on the roll and then press the petal into it. And then it'll come off with that. That's the best way to keep that nice and flat. I've had so many people try to peel this off with their fingernail or even with the take your pick tool and move it to their project. And it just doesn't stay flat. It has this tendency to roll up in a ball. And they also, if you drop them, they roll across the room and unravel. So that's why I have this. Okay. That little piece of ribbon keeps it together if it happens to fall on the floor, and keeps it from all unraveling. And as I said, these would be really hard to put glue onto the back of unless you used a sponge dauber and your silicone mat with some liquid glue. But this adhesive sheet is magic because that's going to allow us to take this straight over to the leaf and lay it down and have it work just like that. And I may not have that exactly on there perfect, but that's going to be okay because it's going to stick out from underneath. So we're only going to see the outside edge of that leaf. This one, I have found that this little curve right here, if I match that to this little curve here, that's where I've been getting my best alignment. Okay, so now we're ready to move on to making this an actual box. Okay, so I'm going to use liquid glue because that's going to give me some wiggle time so that I can make sure I have this perfectly square. That's going to give me my best bet of having this work properly. This is a little bit of glue stuck in it. That's why I keep one of these pins on my desk. This is just a quilting pin or, sewing. And if I stick that in there, it gets rid of that little glob. And then it should start flowing again. Because I find if I squeeze it too hard to get that blob out of there, then I get too much glue on my project. Because as you can see, I don't really need much. It's just a little bit of glue that's going to need to hold that together. Using too much glue, especially when using designer series paper, is going to make your paper buckle and look kind of funky, and we don't want it to do that. Oop, a little much there. We have a little bit of time to wiggle it around, but then once it grabs hold, it's going to stick really well. That's not going to come apart on you. So I've got a little bit of extra of that score line I cut out. So we'll just give that a little cleanup. Okay. There's our insert, and we're going to do the same idea with the top and bottom of our box. Ooh, yikes. Okay, that's too much. So I'm just going to use a little scrap and transfer some of that. Have you done that before? Squeezed way too much glue and then had to find some way to transfer it to another area. I have seen people when they're putting a card together and we have little layers, is they will glue one of the layers and then find another layer that's the same size. So they'll glue this and then they will have this second layer and they'll put them together and pull them apart, and there'll be just enough glue that you can stick them down separately. So it kind of cuts the glue in half. That was not my idea, but I did think it was genius. Okay, I'm making sure my edges here are straight. All right, we have our insert. You would set the candy down first, and then you would set the insert over it. And then we have our box top. I'm going to go ahead and again, the liquid glue is giving me some time to wiggle it around and be sure I have it straight and centered and all that good stuff. Let's see, then we can put our leaves on, and I kind of just set them down and kind of figure out about where I want them. And then I'm going to glue the flower down first, or the leaves down first, sorry. And then I'm going to set the flower on top of it. And then the last finishing touch for our box is to give it a few of the little adhesive-backed sequins that come in the suite. I love that everything's all color coordinated and everything matches. When they give us a suite of products, they could give us an item number where we can use the one item number to get the entire suite rather than having to go in and enter individually the stamp set, the dies, the paper, the sequins, all of that. You just enter the one code and you get everything color coordinating and you're ready to go. So super helpful that way. All right, as I said before, I took the negative of our mom and I put it on another piece of cardstock. So I cut it out of Berry Burst. I mounted it on Bubble Bath, and then I used a piece of the Simply Zinnia's, I guess it's might be a different name for the paper. Flowering Zinnia's designer series paper. And then I added a few of the sequins on there as well. So hopefully you like today's project and you give it a try. Thanks so much.